10 worst assets that keep you poor. Did you know you're silently losing millions of potential dollars without even realizing it? That's exactly what's happening to 97% of Americans today. Elon Musk once said, "The difference between the rich and the poor isn't their income, but how they use their money." And that changed my life. While most people struggle with debt and constantly wonder why they never have enough money, a small group is quietly building wealth by avoiding these 10 terrible investments. And I'll tell you exactly what they are in today's video. What's shocking is that asset number 6 is owned by over 72% of Americans, and it's secretly draining their accounts every day. And asset number 2? Almost all of us make this mistake. Warren Buffett, the 5th richest man in the world, has exposed all these traps in Berkshire Hathaway's annual report, but few people notice. Watch this entire video and you'll discover exactly how truly wealthy people arrange their finances, smarter alternative investments you can start today, and most importantly, the 3-step plan that all self-made millionaires use to increase their net worth while others are losing money. Subscribe to the channel right now. Hit the notification button and leave a comment with the word freedom so I know you're serious about building wealth. Now, let's explore the financial time bombs destroying your path to wealth. Number 1, expensive weddings. Don't enjoy one day but be in debt for life. The most special day of your life doesn't need to be the most expensive. With the average wedding cost in America exceeding $30,000, many couples start their lives together drowning in debt, trading decades of financial stability for a few hours of lavish celebration. The social pressure is enormous. Magazines, TV shows, and social media promote the idea that weddings must be extravagant to be meaningful. But the reality is there's no correlation between the cost of the ceremony and the happiness or longevity of the marriage. In fact, studies show that couples who spend less on their weddings tend to stay together longer. The real issue isn't celebrating, but sacrificing your financial future for a single day. That $30,000 spent on a wedding, if invested for retirement at age 30, could grow to over $450,000 by age 65, with an average annual return of 8%. Is it worth trading $500,000 in your future for expensive flowers and a DJ for a few hours? Financially savvy couples are redefining what it means to have a memorable wedding. They focus on meaning rather than spectacle, experience rather than luxury. Weekday ceremonies, receptions at non-traditional venues like parks or museums, digital invitations, and minimalist decorations can easily cut costs in half while still preserving all the special moments. I remember attending a lavish $75,000 wedding last year. Beautiful, of course. But you know what happened afterward? That couple had to postpone their home buying plans for 5 years. Meanwhile, my cousin organized an $8,000 wedding in the local park with self-catered food and bought their first house just 6 months later. The lesson here isn't to not celebrate, but to celebrate smartly. After all, marriage lasts a lifetime, while a wedding lasts only a few hours. And speaking of things that last longer than expected, number 2, credit card debt. This is your biggest financial enemy. With an average interest rate of 20% annually, unpaid credit card debt is like a black hole draining your future assets, leaving only debt behind. The numbers are frightening. A debt of just $5,000 on your card, paying only the minimum, can take over 15 years to pay off and cost more than $10,000 in interest. It's like buying everything at double the price. The trick that banks don't want you to know is that they love when you only pay the minimum. In fact, they count on it. That minimum payment of $25 or $35 is scientifically calculated to keep you in debt as long as possible while they collect enormous interest. It's a perfect transfer of assets from your future to bank shareholders. Financially savvy people use credit cards completely differently. They take advantage of benefits like air miles, cashback, and fraud protection, but regularly pay off the entire balance monthly. Thus, they turn a potential trap into a beneficial tool. If you're already stuck in debt, there is a way out. Apply the snowball method, focusing on the card with the highest interest rate first, while making minimum payments on other cards. When the first one is paid off, redirect that money to the next one, creating a snowball effect. This is personal for me. I was once stuck with $23,000 in credit card debt, and it felt like drowning in the ocean. Each month I tried to pay more, but the balance barely decreased. That's when I discovered the truth. My $49 monthly minimum payment had only $9 going toward the principal. The rest was all interest. When I finally applied the snowball method, focusing on the highest interest debt first, I got out of debt in 18 months instead of 17 years. Don't let that small piece of plastic control your life. Control it instead. Speaking of losing control, do you know what else is causing millions of young people to go into debt? Number 3, expensive and useless degrees. Go to college, then you can get a good job. This advice passed down from generation to generation is increasingly outdated. With the average cost of a 4-year degree exceeding $100,000, many young people leave college with degrees that don't guarantee employment and debt that will follow them for decades. The average student debt in America is $37,000 per person, with many graduates in specific fields owing more than $100,000. The problem is, depending on the field of study, the starting salary may be too low for them to repay this amount within a reasonable time frame. The real issue isn't education itself, but the imbalance between cost and return. Financially savvy people analyze the ROI, return on investment, of any education. They ask important questions. Will this degree really increase my income? Is there an easier path to this career? Can I learn these skills more economically? Smart alternatives are growing rapidly. Certificate programs in technical fields like IT, web development, or data analysis typically cost under $10,000 and can lead to jobs starting at $60,000 or higher. Community colleges provide the first 2 years of education at a fraction of the cost of traditional universities. And online platforms like Coursera, edX, and LinkedIn Learning offer quality courses for hundreds, not thousands of dollars. I spent 4 years and $120,000 to get an arts degree from a prestigious university. You know what happened next? I had to work at a coffee shop for minimum wage for 2 years, while my old roommate took a 6-month programming course for $12,000 and started his first job at $85,000. Don't get me wrong, education is important, but you have to be clear-eyed about what you're buying. We need to abandon the any degree is worth it mindset and instead ask, is this particular degree really worth it? Sometimes the most expensive experiences aren't limited to education. Let's look at another case where people often make decisions based on emotions. Number 4, timeshare ownership. Have you ever imagined owning a small piece of paradise that you could visit annually? That's the seductive promise of timeshare ownership. The problem? They are perhaps one of the worst investments anyone can make. They shouldn't even be called investments. It all starts with a significant upfront payment, usually $20,000 or more. But that's just the beginning of the story. What smiling salespeople don't emphasize is that annual maintenance fees only increase over time, starting at $800 and quickly rising to $2,000 or more each year. And whether you use it or not, you still pay. When reality finally hits and you try to sell your timeshare, you'll discover the brutal truth. Almost nobody wants to buy it. The market is flooded with desperate owners trying to get rid of them, often willing to sell them for a pittance or even pay someone to take over the contract. Meanwhile, financially savvy people simply book accommodation when they want to travel. They enjoy the freedom to choose different destinations, stay in updated hotels, and above all, have no ongoing financial commitment. My parents made this mistake in the 1990s. They bought a timeshare in Florida, thinking it was an investment in family happiness. 25 years later, they had paid with ever-increasing maintenance fees. And when they tried to sell it, during those 25 years, we only use it 8 times because schedules always conflicted. It's a perfect trap. Fees increase, value decreases, and flexibility is virtually non-existent. Number 5, lottery and gambling. Do you know there's a tax that people voluntarily pay despite having almost no chance of getting anything back? That's the real cost of lottery and gambling. This is a disguised tax on hope that primarily affects those who can least afford it. The odds are shocking. You're more likely to be struck by lightning, 1 in 500,000, than to win the Powerball, 1 in 292 million. The average American spends about $400 annually on lottery tickets. It doesn't seem like much, That money invested monthly in an index fund like VO over 30 years with an average annual return of 8% would lead to more than $50,000. Consider the behavior of truly wealthy people. They don't waste money on small games of chance. Instead, they make calculated bets on businesses, real estate, and the stock market, where the odds are much more in their favor. They understand that true wealth comes from consistent, disciplined decisions, not instant luck. I have a neighbor named Bill who buys $50 lottery tickets every week for the past 15 years because he thinks it's his retirement plan. That's nearly $40,000 spent. The funny thing is, he always says, "I don't have enough money to invest in the stock market." The truth is, most frequent lottery buyers truly believe it's the only viable path for them to achieve wealth. I always wonder, if you believe you're that lucky, why not apply that luck to areas with higher chances of winning? When you invest in an index fund, you don't need luck, you just need patience. And speaking of financial plans disguised as smart investments, number 6, whole life insurance. That's insurance and investment all in one. That's how many insurance agents sell whole life insurance policies. But what they don't mention is that you're basically combining extremely expensive life insurance with a low-yield investment, creating a product that achieves neither goal well. The numbers don't lie. Whole life insurance can cost 5 to 10 times more than term life insurance for the same coverage amount. The investment component of whole life insurance is extremely inefficient. In the early years, almost all of your premium goes to paying fees and commissions. Financially savvy people apply a much more effective strategy: buy term and invest the difference. They buy cheap term life insurance for protection during the truly important years when they have dependent children or mortgage, and invest the savings in higher-yielding vehicles like index funds, VTI, VO, or tax-advantaged retirement accounts like 401k IRAs. I almost fell into this trap when my agent tried to sell me a $500,000 whole life insurance policy with a monthly fee of $450. He said it was an investment. But fortunately, I researched and discovered I could buy a 20-year term policy with the same coverage for just $30 per month. That a difference of $420 monthly, or $5,040 annually. When I invested that difference in ETFs, I built much more wealth in the cash value that the whole life policy promised. Most people don't realize that whole life insurance only benefits the seller, not you. The lesson? Separate your insurance and investment needs. You will do better in both areas. But it's not just long-term financial commitments that are a problem. Sometimes smaller purchases can also have a big impact. Number 7, designer clothes and accessories. The $2,000 Louis Vuitton bag or $10,000 Rolex watch might make you look successful, but the uncomfortable truth is that many people flaunting these status symbols are financially in debt. They're trading real wealth for a temporary illusion of prosperity. While people with deep debt like to show off the latest designer items, many real millionaires wear ordinary clothes and live discreetly. Mark Zuckerberg is known for his simple gray t-shirts, and Warren Buffett lives in the same house he bought in 1958. They understand that owning income-generating assets is much more important than appearing wealthy. The numbers keep adding up. Those $500 shoes don't just have a sticker price. They also represent opportunity cost. If invested in an ETF like VTI with an average annual return of 8%, that amount would turn into over $20,300 in 20 years. And if purchased with a credit card, adding 18% annual interest, the actual cost could easily double. This doesn't mean you should never buy something beautiful or high quality. The issue is timing and proportion. Truly prosperous people follow the rule of prioritizing assets, and they build a solid investment foundation before spending on luxuries. If a luxury item costs more than 1% of your total net worth, it's probably too early to buy it. I once had a client who earned $200,000 a year, but was always broke. When we analyzed her finances, I was shocked to discover she had spent $35,000 on clothes and accessories last year. The most amazing thing is she couldn't remember most of what she bought. I showed her a simple exercise. If she had invested half that amount over the past 10 years, she could have had nearly $300,000 in her investment account. Now she follows the 1% rule I suggested and only spends on luxury items when they represent less than 1% of her total net worth. This doesn't mean you can't enjoy beautiful things. It just means you earn a right to enjoy them before spending. But designer items aren't the only thing making Americans poorer. Number 8. Boats and luxury items. There's an old joke in the maritime world. The two best days in a boat owner's life are the day they buy it and the day they sell it. Behind this joke is a financial truth that many people discover too late. Boats, vacation homes, and other luxury items are financial black holes disguised as status symbols. The real cost of these items far exceeds the purchase price. A $50,000 boat will easily cost an additional $5,000 to $10,000 annually for maintenance, insurance, storage, fuel, and repairs. And the worst part is that most of them are not in operation for more than 90% of the time. Meanwhile, financially savvy people take a completely different approach. They rent luxury items instead of buying. Why spend $50,000 on a boat when you can rent one for $400 to $600 per day for the few times you actually want to go boating? The math is relentless. The $50,000 boat with annual maintenance costs of $5,000 for 10 years represents a total cost of $100,000. If that money were invested in an ETF with an average annual return of 8%, you would have about $215,000 at the end of the period. The important question is, are those days on the lake really worth $115,000 of your future? For those who truly love exclusive experiences, consider the 5% rule. If the annual maintenance cost of a luxury item exceeds 5% of your after-tax annual income, you probably can't afford it. I still remember when my brother bought his dream boat for $72,000. This is an investment in family quality of life, he said. After 3 years, he calculated that he had used it a total of 14 days. That's $5,000 per day of use, not counting the ongoing maintenance costs. Now he carefully plans his annual fishing trips and rents boats for a fraction of the cost and without the headaches. It's interesting how we often fall into the ownership trap to display status, while truly rich people are increasingly moving to an experience model rather than ownership. They maximize joy while minimizing costs and responsibilities. And boats are just one example. RVs, vacation homes, even private planes all follow the same economic rule. Speaking of expensive technology, number 9, expensive devices and constant upgrades. The new iPhone looks great, doesn't it? With a slightly better camera and slightly faster processor than last year's model. But here's the truth that tech companies don't want you to know. The difference in user experience between consecutive models rarely justifies the price of over $1,000 to upgrade. This cycle works in a perversely efficient way. Each new release comes with marketing activity that makes your perfectly functioning current device seem obsolete. Apple, Samsung, and other giants have perfected the art of perceived obsolescence. They don't need the old product to break. They just need you to believe it's no longer good enough. And we constantly fall into this trap. The numbers are amazing. Switching smartphones annually can cost more than $12,000 over a decade. If you keep your phone for 3 to 4 years instead, you'll easily save $6,000 to $8,000 during that period. Financially savvy people follow a simple rule. They use technology until it truly no longer meets their needs, not until the next release. Warren Buffett used the same flip phone for many years while building a billion-dollar empire. It's not about avoiding technology, but using it strategically rather than emotionally. When you really need to upgrade, consider more economical options. Last year's models are often discounted 30 to 40% when new models are released. Certified refurbished devices provide similar warranties at a fraction of the price. And for computers, a simple RAM or SSD upgrade can often bring new life to the machine for $100 to $200 instead of spending $1,500 on a completely new model. I must confess, I was once a victim of tech FOMO. I lined up at 5 a.m. to buy new iPhones for 4 consecutive years, spending over $4,000 on upgrades I didn't really need. What's the point? I always felt good for about a month. Then the new phone became ordinary, and I was caught in the loop of waiting for the next version. The painful truth is technology is the fastest depreciating asset you can buy. Now I use the skip 2 generations rule. I only upgrade every 3 to 4 years, and the savings have started accumulating in my investment account. I haven't missed any crucial features, and my mind is freed from the endless upgrade cycle. This makes me think of another rapidly depreciating asset that many Americans own. Number 10. New cars. The new car smell is hard to resist, isn't it? But did you know that as soon as you drive off the dealership lot, your investment has already lost 15% of its value? It's like throwing $6,000 out the window before you get home. Within the first 5 years, that car loses more than half its value. That $40,000 car is now worth less than $20,000. But if you finance it, you still have to pay as if it retained its original value, often with interest rates pushing the actual cost up to $50,000 or more. Meanwhile, truly wealthy people rarely fall into this trap. Warren Buffett, despite being a billionaire, still drives a used Cadillac. They understand that cars are an expense, not an investment. True wealth comes from owning appreciating assets, not depreciating ones. Smart strategy. Look for used cars 2 to 3 years old with low mileage. This is perhaps the biggest financial mistake I see people make. I used to work at a car dealership, and I must say we love customers who bought new cars every 3 to 4 years. One of my customers bought a new $45,000 SUV in 2018. 3 years later, she traded it in for the newest model and was shocked to discover the car was only worth $22,000. That's over $23,000 that evaporated. Worse, she still owed $29,000 on the car loan, so she was actually negative $7,000 and had to roll that amount into the new loan. This is how people continuously put themselves in poor financial situations. Instead, consider the strategy. Buy a 2 to 3 year old used car when the biggest appreciation has already occurred. Drive it for 7 to 10 years and pay it off in full. With this strategy, you can easily save $100,000 over your driving lifetime. That's enough to cover a significant portion of your retirement costs or a down payment on a house, all by simply resisting the temptation of that new car smell. Today, we've covered 10 assets that are secretly draining your wealth. But really, this isn't just about avoiding financial traps. It's about changing your mindset from consuming to investing, from showing off to accumulating, from short-term to long-term. True wealth isn't about what you own, but the freedom you gain. Freedom of choice, freedom of time, freedom to live life on your own terms. Every financial decision is a trade-off between the present and the future. Billionaire Charlie Munger said, "The best way to become wealthy is to continuously not become poor." And that's exactly what we've learned today. By avoiding these traps and applying the principles we've discussed, you can start building a solid financial future today, regardless of your current income. Leave a comment with which trap you'll avoid first. If you like this video, hit like and share to help others avoid these costly financial mistakes. Subscribe to the channel for more content on how to build real wealth and click the bell icon to be notified when the next video drops. 7 assets self-made millionaires always buy first. See you in the next video.